right. Hey, hi, hello. I know it's been a little while, way longer than I thought it would be. I've had some technical issues trying to figure things out. I don't have the best setup for recording, and my options are either try and record on my phone where the audio is terrible, or do this. And this is what we've got. It's a green screen. Okay, but that's just what we're gonna do. If anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. Right now, my background is stock images that I found online. I just went to Google, researched stock images. I can put the links to them down below for credit purposes. But in the future, I would actually like to have pictures of my actual yarn up there and my actual anime collection and my actual book collection. Because I have okay, I have a lot of manga, not so many fantasy books because mostly it's audiobooks, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Lulu Rambles, or Chit Chat Check-In, whichever you want to call it. Really, the world is your oyster. So the topic of today is actually Avatar: The Last Airbender. The live action just came out on Netflix. I've watched the first 4 episodes at this point, but I wrote a little scripty script and kind of recorded my thoughts and feelings on it. So I'm going to start going into the script now. And, yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender live action. I'm starting this script now and then recording it later due to A, having a cold, and B, it's a Saturday evening and not a great time for voice recording. Because, my family is home and there are screens everywhere. Everyone's got their screens on. Everyone's having a lot of fun. And I want to interact with my family. So, yeah, recording, not the best time for that. So to be clear, I'm about to watch the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. Right now, I am writing this before seeing any of it. However, once I do the actual recording, which is now, I will have watched it at least the first episode, transparency and all that. Anyway, so before I watch this show, there are a few things that I wanted to go over. First of all, I'm not expecting this to be the same thing as the original anime, as the original animated show. If I'm lucky, it'll have similar vibes and the heart will be there, but it's just not possible for a one-for-one live action to animation transfer. It's not even possible for one-for-one live action anything transfer, or even animation from manga transfer. It's gotten a little bit better. It's gotten a little bit better between the manga and the anime, but there are reasons people will read the manga and then go and watch the anime, and I'm hoping for a similar kind of thing, but I'm not expecting a scene-for-scene breakdown of the original show turned into live action. The absolute closest I've seen to someone doing that are Japanese dramas based off of anime where the actors are actually mimicking their animated counterparts, and it is super cringy, difficult to digest. I don't vibe with that form of entertainment, so I'm hoping that that's not what they did here. The One Piece live action, or what I've seen of it so far, is actually an excellent workaround for this issue by looking at the humorous beats of the anime and going, okay, how can we take this scene and translate it to where it's still funny, the important beats still land, but it's not the same thing? How would the joke land if you can't make your eyes 3 times the size of your head, kind of a thing? I'm hoping that Avatar will follow a similar path as One Piece, and instead of doing what the movie that we shall unfortunately have to name, where they just took out all the funny bits along with all of the characters' personalities. So yeah, I'm not expecting an exact replica. I don't want an exact replica. I am, though, hoping for a good adaptation, if that makes any sense. Second, I've heard tell that the showrunners decided to change core personality traits for some of the characters, specifically Sokka. In the anime, Sokka has a pretty realistic has a pretty realistic journey personality-wise. In the beginning, he's kind of a misogynistic jerk, and then he kind of learns from that, and I would hate for that part of him to be missing, but realistically, his journey from sexist to understanding that women are equal happens really, really quickly in the span of maybe 4 or 5 episodes, maybe? We see parts of his misogyny in the opening scene of episode 1 when Sokka and Katara are talking on the boat. Then we see it again when Katara is repairing his pants on Appa's back. And then we see it one last time when the group has their first interaction with the Kyoshi warriors, and then he gets both his butt and his pride bruised by Suki. After that, though, Sokka just kind of mellows out. He wasn't that far down the men great, women submissive, hoo-ha-ha, rabbit hole to begin with. So he only really needed a little bit of rope and a little pull to get out of that well. If they leave it out entirely, I'll be sad, but I'll be a little less upset than if they took away his puns, because if Sokka isn't punny, then Sokka isn't Sokka. I thought there was more, but honestly, right now I'm just kind of eager to watch the first episode and see how my hopes and words match up. So, see y'all in 3, 2, 1. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, so realistically at this point, I've watched the first 4 episodes of the anime series, and I have ideas and thoughts. Like, I took notes, and the beginning was I took a lot of notes, and then it just got less and less as we went along. The opening is completely different, but it has a really good showcase of bending. It's a little bit weaker of an opening speech once we finally get to that, but that's nitpicking. It looks like this version of Avatar: The Last Airbender is going straight into the history of how Aang got stuck in the iceberg in the first place, instead of being a mysterious filler episode that we get later on down the road. Since the anime came out whenever ago it came out, I think it's safe to say that a large amount of the viewer base already knows the majority of the original plot. So taking this direction, it was actually kind of fun. It's kind of like, all right, you guys, we're getting this out of the way and we're wrapping it into the story more cohesively. This version clearly seems to be more for the adult fans of the original show as opposed to for current children, because it is very violent. I have a 7-year-old. I would absolutely show my 7-year-old the original show. I do not think I will be showing her the live action until she's quite a bit older. At some point I said, wow, okay, just telling all the secrets though, got it. They went into the lore here. We get our first look at Zuko in episode 1. He is successfully still a little shit. The penguin sledding is gone. And that made me really sad. One of my favorite lines is Aang going, you want to go penguin sledding with me? And that's not there. But episode 1 is over, and I'm somewhat neutral. Nothing felt rushed plot-wise, but it did feel Cliff Notes-ish. Katara and Aang don't really have the chance to bond again over the penguin sledding, and I'm not getting the whimsy moments I love so much for Aang just yet. But at the same time, while a bit more serious, the show is following the same trajectory plot-wise. I suppose it's kind of hypocritical of me to be like, I'm not expecting this to be the same as the show in one breath, and then whine that it isn't exactly the same in my second. And this is a slightly more serious Aang, but I mean, Dude Man did just wake up and find out that everybody he has ever known and loved is dead. So a more serious take on the character makes a little bit more sense. If I were watching this brand new without any context of the original show after episode 1, honestly, I'm not too sure I'd have kept watching past the opening bits. Big war plots have never really captured my attention. Had I gotten through the beginning, maybe. But as someone who has seen the original content and is already a big fan of the franchise, it's still way better than season 2 plus of Korra. So that's enough for me to keep watching, because I did not like Korra after season 1. So we went into episode 2, and Sokka is honestly perfect. I know that we were worried about him, but they took out all of the 3 lines where he's misogynistic, but his core personality traits of that journey is still the same. He still feels like he has the world on his shoulders, while at the same time kind of being very sheltered. He still has these feelings of grandiose, of being this great super warrior, and while also not being this great super warrior. So he has never actively come out and been like, oh, Katara, this is your job because you're the woman. But you can see a lot of the journey that he went through in his lines and his actions and his interactions with others. We already went over how Aang is way more timid, but again, makes sense. Katara is pretty close as well. I've stated that I love Gran Gran, because I love Gran Gran. Gran Gran has more lines, more of a presence in this live action, and I love that. I love that I can fall in love with her. And then we go on and further proof. Sokka is honestly perfect because he is just as much of an idiot around Suki. Just as much of an idiot. Maybe even more so. It was hard to watch in some of the best ways. I loved seeing Sokka and Suki's interactions in episode 2. I'm not going to go into a consistent play-by-plays of each episode, but whereas it felt like episode 1 kind of dragged on, episode 2 was much more engaging, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the Sokka and Suki bits. There are certain scenes I wish they had included, but overall, it was a fairly solid episode. And then, you know, from there, I went into episode 3, and this sees the first big change from the original show and the live action from my memory, because I did not, you know, warning, I did not go back and watch the original show in preparation for this. I felt like it was the most fair to give the live action its best shot with some distance between me and the original show. So we go into episode 3, and again, this is the first big change that I can remember. This was done, I think, to make up for not having enough time for some of their side adventures, at least in regards to what I remember from season 1. There were a lot of episodes where the plot would revolve around one specific character journey, and the others didn't really have a lot to do. And so they decided to, like, take, you know, 3 diverging storylines and combine them, and they did a decent combination of that. I mean, 4 diverging storylines. 5 diverging story. Okay, there are at least 6 different storylines that they have all wrapped up together in one arc between episodes 3 and 4. And I really like how they've done this. Episode 4 is the last episode I watched. Episode 4 is the first episode to make me cry. If you know, you probably already know. But if you don't, you will probably cry. So first 4 episodes, that's as far as I've gotten so far. I'm going to continue taking notes, and hopefully I will have another video up later. But yeah, I'm going to pause here and tell you the rest of my thoughts after I've watched more. Anyway, this has been LuuluSoul. I have been having a great time. If you want to know what my crocheting journey is like, take a look at my Instagram. That's where I've been posting most of my crocheting images and reels, and I'm also posting them on TikToks. I made a pen rose. It's a rose pen. This video just isn't really about crochet, but I do crochet. That's what the yarn's for. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Mwah!